Marcus Hale wiped the grease from his hands and leaned back against the cool metal wall of the docking bay. The hum of the massive starships above him filled the room, a constant reminder of how small humans were on this alien station. He glanced at his son, Liam, who was carefully stacking metal scraps into neat piles, trying to imitate his father. Marcus smiled faintly, ruffling his son's messy hair. Life was hard, but he had Liam, and that was enough. Marcus had been a mechanic for nearly 15 years. He could fix almost anything: engines, control panels, life support systems, but that never mattered to the aliens. They looked at him like he was barely human, a creature good only for cleaning and minor repairs. High-ranking officers passed by without a word, sometimes glancing down at him and shaking their heads. He didn't complain. Marcus had learned long ago that proving yourself to aliens was almost impossible. Still, he was proud of what he could do. He knew every system of the ships he worked on. He could listen to an engine and tell exactly which part was about to fail. When the station suffered a minor accident or engine problem, it was Marcus who was called to fix it. But no one celebrated him. They didn't care that the ship would stay in the air or that lives would be safe because of him. "Dad, can I try that wrench?" Liam asked, holding a tiny tool in his hands. His brown eyes were wide, filled with curiosity and admiration. "Not yet, buddy," Marcus said with a tired smile. "You'll get your turn when you're a bit stronger." Liam pouted but obeyed. He loved being near his father, learning without anyone noticing. Marcus knew the boy would grow up strong and smart, maybe even stronger than humans were supposed to be. But for now they had to survive, one day at a time. The docking bay was busy today. Alien pilots moved quickly, checking ships, tapping on glowing consoles, and arguing in languages Marcus didn't understand. He watched them with careful eyes. They were skilled, yes, but arrogant. They never thought a human could match their knowledge. That amused him sometimes. The aliens were fast, precise, and trained from birth, but they didn't understand human stubbornness. Marcus returned to the ship he was fixing. It was a mid-sized cruiser, freshly refitted but suffering from a small engine fault. He could fix it easily, but the station had rules. Humans were allowed to touch the ships, yes, but only for minor repairs. Pilots were always aliens. It was part of the order, part of the way things worked here. Marcus had long accepted that. As he worked, he heard laughter from across the bay. A group of young alien officers were pointing at him. He ignored them. They always joked, usually about how humans couldn't even read the flight manuals properly. It didn't matter. Marcus knew he was better than they thought, even if no one would ever admit it. One of the older officers walked by, frowning. He looked at Marcus and shook his head. "Still cleaning the engines, human?" he said in a tone that made it clear he considered Marcus beneath notice. Marcus didn't reply. Words were useless. Actions mattered more, and one day he would show them. After hours of work, Marcus finished the repairs. The engine hummed perfectly. He tested it, feeling the vibrations run through his hands. Smooth, precise, flawless. He stepped back and wiped his brow, satisfied. Liam clapped quietly, proud of his father. Marcus smiled at him, feeling a warmth he rarely allowed himself to enjoy. "Good job, Dad," Liam said. "The ship is ready to fly." Marcus chuckled softly. "It is, buddy. But flying isn't for us right now. Not yet." He glanced around the docking bay, watching the alien pilots boast and preen, showing off their skills. None of them knew that Marcus could do much more than they could ever imagine. He had studied every manual he could get his hands on, memorized engine diagrams, and learned the flight patterns of dozens of ships. All in secret, because no alien would ever take him seriously. At the end of the day, Marcus cleaned his tools and gathered Liam. They walked through the docking bay, dodging the aliens and their busy schedules. Marcus held his son close, knowing the boy's small hand fit perfectly in his. The station was huge and cold, but Marcus had learned to survive here, and he would make sure Liam survived too. As they headed toward their small quarters, Marcus allowed himself a quiet thought. One day the aliens would see what humans could do. One day he would have a chance to show them. For now, though, he had his son, his tools, and his knowledge, and that was enough. No one respected Marcus Hale on the station. No one cared about the human mechanic who could fix almost anything. But Marcus didn't need respect yet. He only needed a chance. And he knew that when that chance came, the galaxy would never forget a human who could do what no alien pilot thought possible. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the docking bay with Liam trailing behind him, holding his little backpack. The sun of Virex 12 barely reached the lower decks, leaving a cold blue glow across the metal floors. Aliens rushed past them, their long legs and multiple arms moving in perfect synchronization, checking ships and scanning consoles. Marcus felt the familiar weight of being invisible, the quiet knowledge that no one here expected anything from a human. He had just started checking the energy lines of a small cargo shuttle when laughter echoed across the bay. Marcus froze for a moment and looked up. A group of young alien pilots had gathered near a new cruiser, the biggest ship in the bay, polished and ready for flight. Their eyes were on him. One of them, a tall alien with emerald-colored skin, pointed at him and shouted something in their harsh language. "I think it's time the human flew the cruiser," another alien said, smirking. Marcus frowned but did not respond. He had heard this kind of mockery before. Aliens loved testing humans in ridiculous ways, always assuming they would fail. But something in his chest stirred. He had spent years secretly studying flight manuals, memorizing engine layouts, and imagining what it would be like to pilot a ship. Today, perhaps, he might finally have the chance to show them. The alien captain, a stern officer with silver eyes, walked over and glared at Marcus. "Human," he said slowly, each word sharp, "come here. The ship needs a pilot. Or, you can pretend you cannot fly. Either way, it will amuse us." Marcus swallowed hard. His heart pounded. This was the opportunity he had always wanted, but it was also dangerous. The cruiser was one of the most advanced ships in the station, and one mistake could ruin everything, or worse. He glanced at Liam, who was watching wide-eyed. Marcus knelt and whispered, "I can do this, buddy. Just stay close, okay?" Liam nodded, though his small hand gripped his father's like a lifeline. "Be careful, Dad," he said softly. Marcus straightened and walked toward the cruiser. The alien officers laughed, clearly expecting disaster. They stepped aside as he reached the cockpit. The seat was enormous, filled with controls, screens and holographic panels glowing in pale light. Marcus paused for a moment, his fingers hovering over the main console. He had memorized every circuit, every engine function. This was no longer a joke, it was his moment. He powered up the systems. Lights flickered, engines hummed, and the ship responded immediately to his touch. Marcus felt a thrill run through him. The controls were not alien to him. He understood them better than most pilots ever could. Years of repairing, adjusting, and studying every detail had given him knowledge no one else had. The aliens outside laughed again, still certain he would fail. One of them even shouted, "Watch him crash." Marcus ignored them. He focused on the instruments, checking the engine cores, the energy flows, and the navigation system. Every part responded perfectly. He guided the ship out of the docking bay, smoothly and with precision. The aliens' laughter faded as they watched. They could not believe what they were seeing. Marcus pushed the engines to test acceleration. The cruiser moved effortlessly, gliding through the hangar without a single jolt or collision. He smiled slightly. It felt natural, like he had been born to do this. Each control, each lever, each screen responded exactly as he had imagined. A warning alarm sounded. One of the docking clamps had not fully released. Most pilots would panic, but Marcus remained calm. He quickly adjusted the energy output, released the clamp manually, and steered the ship safely into open space. The alien smirks disappeared, replaced with wide-eyed shock. Marcus had just handled a problem that would have caused panic in even the most experienced pilot. As he maneuvered the cruiser through the station's traffic lanes, the aliens tried to shout instructions, but Marcus ignored them. He trusted his own knowledge and instincts. He performed maneuvers they had only attempted during simulations, weaving around smaller ships, gliding past space elevators, and even threading through narrow maintenance corridors with unbelievable precision. Finally, he brought the cruiser to a smooth hover in the central bay. The engines purred like a living creature. Marcus powered down the systems and leaned back in his seat, breathing hard but smiling. The aliens were silent, staring at him in disbelief. Even the captain could not hide the surprise in his silver eyes. Marcus unbuckled his seatbelt and stepped out. He bent down to Liam, who ran forward, hugging him tightly. "Dad, that was amazing," the boy exclaimed, his voice filled with wonder. Marcus chuckled. "Thanks, buddy. But remember, it's not about showing off. It's about knowing what you can do and staying calm when things get hard." For the first time, Marcus realized something. The aliens no longer laughed. They had seen that humans were more than they imagined. One small moment, a mechanic in a pilot's seat, was already beginning to change their perception. Marcus looked at the cruiser, proud but aware of the bigger challenges ahead. This was only the beginning. The station had always underestimated humans, but Marcus knew one thing clearly. He was ready to show them that human skill, courage, and intelligence could not be ignored. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would start to pay attention. The docking bay fell silent as Marcus Hale prepared the cruiser for real flight. The aliens had thought this was a joke, a human mechanic fumbling at a pilot's seat. But Marcus did not see it as a joke. He saw it as proof that humans could do more than anyone believed. Liam sat on a bench nearby, wide-eyed and gripping his small backpack. "Dad, are you really going to fly it?" he whispered. Marcus smiled, leaning down. "Yes, buddy. But I have to be careful. Watch closely, okay?" The aliens snickered at that, whispering to each other in their sharp, clicking language. One of them even raised a claw in mock salute. Marcus ignored them. He knew that fear, doubt, and arrogance were often worse enemies than any starship. He climbed into the pilot's seat. The controls felt familiar under his hands. Years of repairing engines, adjusting panels, and studying flight patterns had made him more ready than any simulator could. He glanced at the holographic display, noting the power levels, engine temperatures, and navigation vectors. Everything was optimal. "Begin launch sequence," the alien captain ordered. Marcus nodded. He pressed a sequence of buttons, feeling the engines hum as they awakened. The cruiser vibrated under him, a steady purr that told him she was ready. Slowly, carefully, he lifted the ship off the docking bay. The aliens' laughter faded as their eyes widened. The cruiser moved gracefully, almost like it was gliding on water, weaving through beams and catwalks with ease. "Impressive," one officer muttered, his tone mixed with surprise and disbelief. Marcus ignored the comment and focused on his next move. He had studied the flight maps, the station's traffic lanes, and emergency corridors. He decided to test the ship's limits. With a deep breath, he pushed the engines further. The cruiser responded perfectly, accelerating faster than any alien pilot dared. He performed a tight spin, circling around the central pillar of the bay without touching a single structure. Gasps echoed around the room. Marcus didn't pause. He rolled the ship again, threading it through a narrow maintenance corridor designed only for small repair drones. His hands moved fast, precise, and confident. Every lever, every holographic control, every readout answered to him. The aliens whispered to each other. None had expected this. None had believed a human could do what Marcus was doing. Suddenly, a warning light flashed on the console. One of the docking clamps had failed to release completely. Marcus's heart skipped a beat, but only briefly. He had seen this problem hundreds of times. Calmly, he adjusted the auxiliary power, released the clamp manually, and corrected the ship's trajectory. Not a single scratch, not a single error. The silence among the aliens was deafening. The laughter was gone. In its place was disbelief, awe, and an unspoken question. How could a human know so much? Marcus pushed the cruiser further, performing maneuvers that were never taught to aliens. He spun around the docking bay's main support, spiraled through the maintenance ring, and aligned the ship with the launch bay exit. His movements were precise but fast, a combination of instinct, skill, and knowledge no simulator could replicate. The aliens were frozen, watching as the human mechanic turned pilot performed feats that would have embarrassed their best aces. They whispered, their words sharp and urgent, trying to figure out how he did it. Liam jumped up and clapped, his small voice echoing. Dad, you're amazing." Marcus smiled at him, feeling pride and a surge of energy. "Thanks, buddy. But we're not done yet." He looked at the holographic displays. The station's automated traffic control warned of several small craft entering the corridor. Most pilots would have slowed, but Marcus saw an opportunity. With careful timing, he used the ship's thrusters and power redistribution to glide between the ships, passing so close that the aliens gasped in shock. Not a single collision. Not a single misstep. The cruiser responded perfectly to every command. Marcus knew its engines, its thrusters, and its systems intimately. It was no longer just a machine, it was an extension of his own mind and hands. He could feel it moving, breathing, responding. Finally, he brought the cruiser to a smooth hover in the central bay, where it had started. The engines purred softly as he powered them down. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but his hands were steady. He stepped back from the console. The aliens were silent. Even the captain, who had mocked him moments ago, stared with wide, unblinking eyes. Marcus looked at Liam, who ran forward and hugged him tightly. "You did it, Dad. You're the best pilot ever." Marcus chuckled, ruffling his son's hair. "We did it, buddy. Together." For the first time, Marcus felt the weight of the station's gaze upon him. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a human who had proven that humans could do what aliens thought impossible. One flight, one chance had changed everything. And deep down, Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would notice humans now, not as weak, small, or insignificant, but as clever, brave, and capable. And he, Marcus Hale, would make sure the aliens never forgot it. Marcus Hale had barely set the cruiser down when the warning alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed, sirens echoed, and every panel on the control deck glowed with urgent energy. Marcus's heart skipped a beat. This was not a drill. Something serious had happened. He looked at the holographic display and saw the reason. An unknown fleet of pirate ships had warped into the sector, surrounding the station. The aliens panicked. The trained pilots froze, their pride and confidence slipping away. Marcus could see the fear in their eyes. No one knew how to handle this crisis. Liam tugged at his father's sleeve. "Dad, what's happening?" Marcus knelt and looked into his son's eyes. "It's okay, buddy. Just stay close and watch. I've got this." The aliens had assumed humans were weak, fragile, and useless in combat. Marcus smiled faintly, knowing they were about to be proven wrong. The captain barked orders, but the pilots hesitated. They didn't want to take risks. They had been trained for simulations and routine patrols, not sudden attacks from unknown enemies. The pirate ships were fast, maneuverable, and heavily armed. If the station fell, thousands could die. Marcus understood that. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I can fly the cruiser," he said calmly. "I know the ship. I know how to handle it. Let me take the lead." The aliens stared. Some opened their mouths to protest, but the situation was urgent. The captain finally nodded reluctantly. "Do it, human. Don't fail us." Marcus climbed into the pilot's seat. The cruiser hummed beneath him like a living creature. He checked the systems quickly, power levels, engine output, shields, weapons, all optimal. He activated the navigation console and scanned the pirate ships. They were closing in fast and their energy signatures were unpredictable. Marcus smiled faintly. This was exactly the kind of challenge he had prepared for in his own way. Years of studying ships, engines, and flight mechanics had taught him more than any alien training program. He didn't panic. He focused. He moved the cruiser forward with smooth precision, weaving through the gaps in the station's defensive structures. The pirates fired, but Marcus used the ship's thrusters to dodge every attack. He did not rely on weapons yet. He relied on control, knowledge, and timing. Every movement was calculated, every reaction instinctive. The aliens watched in stunned silence. They had expected humans to panic, to fail, to crash. Instead, Marcus was leading the battle. He moved closer to the pirate ships, analyzing their attack patterns. With quick calculations, he plotted paths that avoided enemy fire while allowing the cruiser to strike weak points. He activated the ship's energy shields, redirecting power from engines to defenses. One pirate ship tried to flank him, but Marcus anticipated the move and adjusted the cruiser's trajectory. He spun the ship in a tight arc, using its momentum to push the pirate craft off course. The aliens gasped. Marcus had just neutralized a threat without firing a single shot. "Impossible," one officer whispered. Marcus's confidence grew. He now controlled the battle, guiding the cruiser with precision that no alien pilot could match. He weaved between enemy ships, dodging lasers and missiles while positioning his own ship to disable the attacker's engines with calculated blasts. Every move was perfect, every decision fast but accurate. Liam watched from the observation deck, clutching the railing. "Dad, you're amazing," he shouted. Marcus smiled briefly. "Just watch, buddy. We're going to get through this." Minutes felt like hours. The pirate ships were relentless, but Marcus was relentless too. He combined his deep understanding of the cruiser with daring maneuvers the aliens would never dare attempt. Spins, dives, microjumps, threading through narrow gaps, all perfectly executed. Slowly, the pirates began to retreat, realizing they were outmatched. Finally, Marcus guided the cruiser back toward the station. He landed it smoothly in the central bay, engines humming softly. The alarms stopped. The red lights dimmed. Silence fell. The aliens stared at him, mouths open. Even the captain, who had doubted Marcus from the start, looked as if he could not believe what had just happened. Marcus unbuckled his seatbelt, stepped down, and walked to Liam. The boy ran into his arms, hugging him tightly. "You did it, Dad. You saved everyone," Liam exclaimed. Marcus hugged him back, smiling. "We did it, buddy. Together. We just proved something important today." Across the docking bay, the alien pilots whispered among themselves. Marcus had changed their minds about humans. A mechanic, someone they had mocked, had saved the station from pirates. They had underestimated humans and they had been wrong. Marcus knew the galaxy had begun to notice. Humans were more than they appeared, clever, brave, and capable of incredible things. And he, Marcus Hale, a single father and mechanic, had just shown them that. For the first time, Marcus allowed himself a small moment of pride. The station would never forget this day. And perhaps the galaxy would start to respect humans not just for their machines, but for their courage, intelligence, and heart. The docking bay was quiet now, the alarms silenced and the flashing red lights replaced by the soft hum of the station's systems. Marcus Hale stepped out of the cruiser, his uniform smudged with oil and sweat, but his eyes bright with relief. Around him, the aliens stared in stunned silence, some unable to speak, others whispering to each other. A human mechanic, a man they had mocked, had just saved the station from destruction. Liam ran forward, jumping into his father's arms. "Dad, you did it. You really did it," he shouted, his voice full of excitement and pride. Marcus hugged him tightly, ruffling his hair. "We did it, buddy. Together. Remember that." The captain, the stern alien with silver eyes, finally stepped forward. His gaze was fixed on Marcus, but this time it was not mocking. There was respect there, though it was reluctant. "Human, you have exceeded every expectation. You piloted a ship far beyond your rank and saved this station. You have earned more than respect. You have earned trust." Marcus nodded, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. For years, humans had been dismissed, underestimated, and overlooked. Now, right here, he had changed the way the aliens saw them. One human, one mechanic, had proven that courage, intelligence, and skill mattered more than species or rank. "Marcus," another officer said, stepping forward, "we would like to offer you a pilot's position. Full rank, full authority. The station and the fleet would benefit from your expertise." Marcus shook his head gently. "I appreciate it," he said, "but I'm a mechanic. My place is here, fixing ships and taking care of my son. But, if you ever need me in the air again, I won't say no." There was a murmur among the aliens. They were surprised by his humility, by his focus on family over glory. In their eyes, humans often sought recognition or power, but Marcus had done this simply because it needed to be done, because it was the right thing. As the crowd of alien officers and pilots began to disperse, whispers followed Marcus and Liam. "Did you see that? The human, he's incredible. He's one of the best pilots alive. We misjudged him completely." Marcus felt something swell inside him. He had never sought admiration, but it was a good feeling to know that humans were finally being recognized for what they could do. He walked toward the exit of the docking bay, holding Liam's hand. The boy bounced excitedly, looking at the ships and the aliens with wide eyes. "Dad, will they remember this forever?" Liam asked. Marcus smiled. "Yes, buddy. Today they will remember. Humans are not weak. We are clever, brave, and strong when it counts. And we'll always do our best for the people we care about." They reached their small quarters. Marcus set Liam down and looked out through the viewport at the massive station beyond. Ships of all sizes moved through space and he could see the alien fleet preparing for patrol. But now he knew that humans would have a place among them, a respect that was earned, not given. Later, as Marcus cleaned his tools, he thought about the flight, the pirates, and the amazement in the eyes of the aliens. He realized something important. It had not been just the ship or the maneuvering skills that had saved the station. It had been his calm, his knowledge, his understanding of the craft, and the human ability to stay focused under pressure. The aliens had never expected that from someone they considered just a mechanic. That night, Liam fell asleep on his bed, exhausted from excitement. Marcus sat nearby, looking at the boy with a mix of love and determination. He had faced challenges, danger, and mockery, and he had come out stronger. He had proven that humans could rise above expectations, that courage and intelligence mattered more than training or status. Word spread quickly across the station. Every alien officer, pilot, and engineer had heard the story by the next day. The human mechanic who had flown the cruiser as a joke had saved the station. Their respect for humans grew, quietly at first, then with admiration. Marcus did not care about accolades, but he noticed the difference in how humans were treated. For the first time, they were considered capable of greatness. Marcus leaned back in his chair and sighed. He did not know what the future would bring, more battles, more challenges, but he was ready. Whatever came next, he and Liam would face it together. And if humans were ever doubted again, he knew one thing for certain. They could always rise, exceed expectations, and shock the galaxy. The next morning, the station's announcement system broadcasted the story across the fleet. Pilots, engineers, and officers all learned the tale. A single dad, a human mechanic, had been asked to pilot a spaceship as a joke, and what he did shocked everyone. Marcus didn't seek fame, but fame found him anyway. The story inspired humans and aliens alike, reminding everyone that courage, intelligence, and heart could defy assumptions and change the course of events. As Marcus and Liam watched the ships move beyond the station, he felt a quiet pride. He had proven himself, not to the aliens, not even to the station, but to his son, to humanity, and to himself. He was more than a mechanic. He was a human capable of greatness. And the galaxy had taken notice. For the first time Marcus smiled fully. He knew the story of that day would live long after him and Liam, a legend of courage, skill, and the heart of a human who refused to be underestimated.